The Last Believers. The great halls of the Galactic archives towered above Dr. Maya Patel, their crystalline walls reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. She touched the worn silver pendant at her neck, a simple human artifact that had cost her everything to protect. The archival council would convene in minutes, and she would either validate her life's work or become another failed humanist whose career ended in disgrace. "Doctor, they're ready for you," announced Zix, her Meridian assistant. The insectoid's antenna twitched with nervous energy, picking up the tension in the air. Maya straightened her formal robes and gathered her evidence crystals. After 20 years of research across 100 worlds, she had finally found proof that humanity's disappearance 3 centuries ago wasn't the result of self-destruction. The accepted historical narrative, that humans had destroyed themselves in a frenzy of violence and technological hubris, had always felt wrong to her. The council chamber fell silent as she entered. 7 representatives from the galaxy's most advanced species sat in judgment, their expressions ranging from barely concealed disdain to academic curiosity. First speaker Ven, a Centaurian known for his skepticism of humanist theories, leaned forward in his gravity chair. "Dr. Patel, your request for a full council hearing was unusual. You claim to have evidence that contradicts 3 centuries of established historical consensus regarding the fate of humanity. Proceed." Maya activated her holoprojector, filling the chamber with 3-dimensional images of her discoveries. "Honorable Council, these artifacts were found in the Orion Spur, preserved in a temporal stasis field that could only have been created by late-period human technology. They tell a very different story about humanity's disappearance." The images shifted to show complex mathematical equations and star charts. "This data suggests that humanity didn't destroy itself. They detected something coming, something that threatened not just their civilization, but all sentient life in the galaxy. Their disappearance was a strategic choice." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. Second speaker Clara, an ancient Volnuran, raised a crystalline appendage. "Doctor, your reputation for unconventional theories precedes you. The violence inherent in human nature is well documented. Their extinction was inevitable." Maya's hand tightened around her pendant. "With respect, Speaker, we've misinterpreted the evidence. Yes, humans were capable of great violence, but they were also capable of extraordinary sacrifice. The temporal stasis field protected more than just artifacts, it preserved a message." She hesitated, knowing her next words would either vindicate her or end her career. 3 days ago, that message began broadcasting on frequencies we thought were nothing but background radiation. It's being transmitted from thousands of locations simultaneously, using methods we barely understand. The chamber erupted in shocked discussions. First speaker Ven raised his hand for silence. "You're suggesting that humanity, a species that barely achieved interstellar travel, developed technology we can't comprehend? Preposterous." "I'm suggesting," Maya countered, "that we've spent 3 centuries mocking a species that might have sacrificed everything to save us. The message is a warning, but it's also instructions. Humanity left us the tools to face something they saw coming, something that's nearly here." She projected the final image, a massive energy signature approaching the galaxy's edge, unlike anything in known space. "This was recorded yesterday by deep space arrays. It matches, exactly, the threat described in the human message. They didn't destroy themselves, first speaker. They were preparing. And now we have to decide if we're going to keep mocking them, or finally listen to what they were trying to tell us." The chamber fell silent as the image rotated, showing the scale of the approaching anomaly. Maya felt the weight of centuries of prejudice against her beliefs, against humanity's legacy, pressing down on her. But for the first time, she saw fear in the council's eyes, fear that perhaps they had been wrong all along. First speaker Ven studied the data with newfound intensity. "Doctor, if you're right, why would they leave? Why not stay and fight?" Maya smiled sadly. "The message answers that question, Speaker. They left because staying would have revealed too much, too soon. The galaxy wasn't ready for what they discovered. They chose to disappear, to be ridiculed and forgotten, because it was the only way to prepare us without alerting what was coming. And now? Clara asked, her crystalline form shimmering with concern. Now, Maya said, activating the final data crystal, we have to decide if we're ready to accept humanity's last gift to the galaxy. Because according to their calculations, we have less than 1 standard year before we face what they gave up everything to prepare us for. The crystal projected a series of coordinates, locations across the galaxy where humanity had hidden their legacy. Maya watched the council members' expressions shift from skepticism to dawning realization. The truth about humanity was finally emerging from centuries of ridicule and dismissal. The question was whether the galaxy could accept it in time. As if in answer to their doubts, every communication device in the chamber activated simultaneously, broadcasting a message in perfect galactic standard, to all sentient species, the time of preparation is over. Implementation of the human protocol begins now. Maya touched her pendant again, feeling the ancient metal warm beneath her fingers. Humanity's vindication was at hand, but it would come at a price none of them could yet imagine. Echoes of the past. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Security Council lasted 18 hours. Maya watched from an observation gallery as the most powerful beings in known space argued about humanity's message. Her presentation to the Archival Council had sparked a crisis that rippled through every level of galactic society. Commander Kex of the Enforcement Fleet paced the chamber floor, his scaled armor catching the light. We've detected activation signals from 37 locations in supposedly empty space. Whatever humanity left behind, it's waking up. Maya's wrist computer chirped softly. Zix had found something in the latest data streams. She quietly excused herself from the gallery, finding her assistant in a nearby analysis chamber. Doctor, you need to see this. Zix's compound eyes reflected cascading streams of data. The human installations aren't just activating, they're changing the fundamental structure of local spacetime. Before Maya could respond, the chamber's security fields activated. Admiral Fress, head of special operations, materialized with 4 armed guards. The Etherian's crystalline form pulsed with barely contained energy. Dr. Patel, you're being temporarily detained for questioning. The Council has concerns about your access to human technology. The Admiral's tone was apologetic but firm. Maya stood her ground. With respect, Admiral, we don't have time for this. The human protocol is implementing itself whether we approve or not. I can help you understand what's happening. That's precisely what concerns us, Fress replied. How did you know exactly when these installations would activate? How long have you been in contact with human technology? A deep rumble shook the building. Emergency alerts blared as the chamber's holographic displays showed a massive energy surge from the nearby research district. Maya's pendant grew warm against her skin. That, she said quietly, would be the archive's quantum vault opening itself. Humanity didn't just leave messages, Admiral. They left their knowledge, all of it, locked away until we were ready. Or until we had no choice. The guards' weapons tracked toward her, but Thress waved them down. Explain. Quickly. The vault contains humanity's complete scientific database. The reason they had to disappear wasn't just about hiding from the threat, it was about preventing their knowledge from being misused. They knew that if they stayed, other species would obtain their discoveries before they were ready to handle them responsibly. Another tremor rocked the building. Zix's antennae twitched toward the displays. Doctor, the vault's data is being transmitted across the galaxy. Every major research facility is receiving it simultaneously. Maya touched her pendant, and a holographic interface sprang to life around her. The guards raised their weapons again, but she ignored them, focusing on the streams of data flowing through the air. This is just the beginning, she explained. Humanity spent their last years creating a technological foundation for us, one that would only activate when the threat they detected was nearly here. They knew we wouldn't believe them, wouldn't prepare on our own. So they prepared for us. Admiral Thress studied her with new intensity. The Council believes you're part of some human sleeper program. That you might not even know you're being used to implement their plans. Maya laughed softly. I'm just a scientist who refused to accept the convenient lies about humanity's fate. But you're right about one thing, I am being used. We all are. Humanity designed their protocol to work with or without our cooperation. The holographic displays suddenly shifted, showing a massive object emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of charted space. It matched the energy signature Maya had shown the Archival Council, but now it was close enough to reveal its true nature. By the first light, Thress whispered, crystalline form dimming in shock. What is that? That, Maya said grimly, is what humanity gave up everything to prepare us for. And now we have a choice: continue denying their sacrifice and face that thing alone, or accept their help and learn why the most ridiculed species in galactic history might have been its greatest offenders. The Admiral's form pulsed as she processed this information. Finally, she turned to her guards. Stand down. Dr. Patel, I'm taking you to the Security Council. Whatever humanity left us, whatever's coming, we need to understand it now. As they hurried through the corridors of power, Maya felt the weight of humanity's gambit settling around them. The species that had been mocked as violent primitives had orchestrated the galaxy's salvation from beyond the grave. But their gift came with a price that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. In her mind, she heard the words from the human message that had started all this: to those who doubted us, we forgive you. To those who believed, we thank you. To all who receive this message, prepare yourselves. What comes next will require everything we left behind, and more that you must find within yourselves. The council chamber doors opened before them, revealing the assembled leaders of 100 species. All of them turned to stare at Maya, the humanist who had been right all along. She straightened her spine and walked forward, ready to help them understand humanity's final lesson, that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in fighting, but in knowing when to step aside and prepare others for the battle to come. Somewhere in the vastness of space, humanity's hidden legacy was awakening. Maya only hoped they could convince the galaxy to accept it before it was too late. The holographic war room deep beneath the Galactic Council headquarters hummed with nervous energy. Maya stood before the assembled military leaders of 17 species, her hands steady as she manipulated the complex display showing humanity's decoded messages. They called it the Void Collective, she explained, watching the color drain from faces and carapaces alike. An entity that exists between dimensions, consuming civilizations that reach a certain level of technological advancement. Humanity detected them 3 centuries ago when they were still beyond the galaxy's edge. Admiral Thress's crystalline form pulsed with concern. And rather than warn us directly, they chose to disappear. To let us mock them for centuries while this threat approached. They tried warning us directly, Zix interrupted, projecting historical records. 17 times across 50 years. Each time, they were dismissed as paranoid, warmongering primitives. The galaxy wasn't ready to listen. Maya nodded, expanding the display to show a vast network of hidden human installations. So they implemented the protocol instead. They knew that direct warnings would only lead to panic or denial. They needed to give us time to develop, to reach a point where we could understand and use what they left behind. The room's displays shifted, showing the approaching Void Collective in real time. The massive entity defied conventional physics, its presence warping space itself. But now, with humanity's knowledge unlocked, they could finally understand what they were seeing. General Karn of the Militant Consortium slammed a clawed fist on the table. This is absurd. Are we supposed to believe that humanity, barely able to reach their own system's edge, developed technology capable of detecting and fighting an interdimensional threat? Maya touched her pendant, and new data streams filled the room. Humanity's apparent technological limitations were a careful deception. They understood that if they revealed their true capabilities, it would either spark a devastating arms race or alert the Void Collective to their discovery. The data showed humanity's real achievements: dimensional physics far beyond current understanding, consciousness transfer technology, weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized spaces. It was overwhelming, even terrifying. By the first light, someone whispered. They weren't primitives at all. No, Maya agreed softly. They were guardians. They knew that if they stayed, if they used these technologies openly, they would either destroy the galaxy's natural development or draw the Void Collective here before we were ready. So they chose to disappear, to become a cautionary tale of primitive violence while secretly preparing our defenses. A new alert flashed across the displays. More human installations were activating, each one implementing protocols that had waited centuries for this moment. The galaxy was being systematically upgraded, its very fabric enhanced by technology that had been hidden in plain sight. Commander Kex studied the readings with professional interest. These defenses, they're not just technological. They're changing the fundamental properties of our space. Making our galaxy incompatible with the Void Collective's intrusion. Exactly, Maya confirmed. But the changes require conscious acceptance from the species affected. That's why humanity's knowledge had to be released slowly, why we had to reach certain developmental milestones before each new stage could begin. They weren't just protecting us, they were teaching us, preparing us to understand and control what they left behind. Admiral Thress moved to the center of the room, her crystalline form reflecting the cascading data. Dr. Patel, you've spent your life studying humanity. What happens next? What's the final stage of their protocol? Maya's expression grew solemn. The final stage requires something that humanity knew would be the hardest part: unity. Complete cooperation between all sentient species. The protocol can't fully activate unless we all work together, setting aside centuries of prejudice and competition. The room erupted in arguments. The idea of total cooperation between species that had spent millennia competing and conflicting seemed impossible. But as they argued, the displays showed the Void Collective drawing closer, its vast form distorting everything in its path. This was humanity's true gift, Maya continued, raising her voice above the chaos. Not just the technology to fight this threat, but the understanding that survival requires us to be better than we are. They chose to be remembered as primitives, to be mocked and dismissed, because they knew that only by unifying against a common threat could we truly be ready to use what they left us. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just prepared defenses, they had engineered a situation that would force the galaxy's species to evolve socially and politically, to become something greater than the sum of their parts. A new message appeared across every screen, translated simultaneously into all known languages: the final phase of the human protocol awaits your collective decision. Will you stand together, or fall divided? Maya looked around the room at the leaders of species that had spent centuries dismissing humanity as violent primitives. Now they faced the truth, that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their advanced technology, but their willingness to sacrifice everything, even their reputation, to give the galaxy a fighting chance. The countdown to the Void Collective's arrival continued its relentless advance. The time for doubt and division was over. Now they would learn if humanity's great gamble, and their ultimate sacrifice, would be enough to save them all. The Galactic Unity Chamber, a vast space that hadn't been used in over a millennium, now held representatives from every known sentient species. Maya watched from the central podium as ancient enemies sat side by side, their differences temporarily overshadowed by the magnitude of what they faced. The Void Collective had consumed 3 uninhabited star systems in the past week alone. Its approach was now visible to even primitive telescopes, a dark tide that devoured light itself. The human installations have finished their initial activation sequence, Zix reported, his usual nervous energy replaced by focused determination. But the final protocols remain locked. They're waiting for something. Maya nodded, studying the sea of faces before her. They're waiting for us. All of us. Humanity knew that technology alone couldn't save us, we have to change who we are. The chamber's massive displays showed real-time footage of the latest human facility to reveal itself. Hidden beneath the surface of a supposedly dead world, a vast complex had emerged, reconstructing itself from quantum-locked storage. Similar revelations were happening across the galaxy, each installation more remarkable than the last. First speaker Ven, who had once dismissed Maya's theories, now stood to address the assembly. 3 days ago, I would have called this impossible. But we've all seen the evidence. Humanity's knowledge, their technology, it surpasses anything we thought possible. The question before us is simple, are we worthy of their trust? Admiral Thresk materialized next to Maya, her crystalline form pulsing with unusual patterns. We've analyzed only a fraction of the human database, but what we've found. She paused, her voice modulating with emotion. They knew the price of using their discoveries. They knew that wielding such power would fundamentally change them, and us. The Admiral projected a series of equations that filled the chamber. This is why they left. Their calculations showed that if they remained and shared their knowledge directly, the resulting conflicts would tear the galaxy apart. Instead, they chose to wait, to let us develop naturally until we faced a threat that would force us to unite. A low murmur rippled through the assembly as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just been protecting them, they had been guiding them, steering the galaxy toward a point where cooperation wasn't just possible but necessary. Maya stepped forward, her pendant glowing with an inner light. The final phase of the protocol requires something unprecedented, a complete neural and technological interface between all our species. We must literally join our minds and our technologies into a single unified network. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. What humanity asked seemed to defy not just tradition but the basic nature of sentient life. Species that had evolved to protect their individuality were being asked to share everything, their knowledge, their experiences, their very consciousness. Impossible, shouted a representative of the collective mind worlds, ironically one of the most isolationist species. This would destroy our unique identities, our cultural autonomy. Maya held up her hand, and the pendant projected a new message, the last recording made by humanity before their disappearance. A figure appeared in the center of the chamber, its simple holographic form carrying an air of profound wisdom. To those who received this message, it began, "We understand your fear. We felt it too. The unity we ask of you seems to go against everything that makes you who you are. But we discovered something remarkable, true unity doesn't erase differences, it celebrates them. When minds join, they don't lose their identity, they gain understanding of all other perspectives while maintaining their own." The hologram shifted, showing the process humanity had developed. It wasn't a merger of minds but a symphony of consciousness, each individual contributing their unique voice to a greater whole. The Void Collective cannot be fought with weapons alone, the human recording continued. It feeds on division, on the spaces between sentient minds. Only by closing those gaps, by creating a unified field of consciousness while maintaining our individual perspectives, can we make our galaxy incompatible with its intrusion. As if to emphasize the point, the latest reports showed the Void Collective accelerating. It would reach the galaxy's edge in less than a month. Maya touched her pendant one last time, and its glow spread throughout the chamber, connecting every being present in a brief, harmless neural link. For just a moment, they felt what humanity had discovered, the possibility of unity without loss, of connection without submission. When the link faded, the chamber was silent. Then, one by one, representatives began to signal their agreement. Even ancient enemies found themselves joining hands, minds opening to possibilities they had never considered. The human installations responded immediately, their systems beginning to implement the final phase of the protocol. Across the galaxy, the barriers between species began to fade, not through force but through understanding. Maya watched as the greatest experiment in galactic history began to unfold. Humanity's last gift was not their technology, but the push they gave the galaxy to become something greater than the sum of its parts. The Void Collective approached, but for the first time, Maya felt real hope. The species that had been mocked as primitive had engineered not just a defense, but a transformation. Now they would see if the galaxy could complete what humanity had started. The day the Void Collective reached the galaxy's edge, every sentient being felt it. Through the neural network humanity had prepared, now active and connecting trillions of minds, they sensed the ancient hunger approaching. But they were ready. Maya stood in the Unity Chamber's observation deck, watching as the final pieces of humanity's grand design fell into place. Massive structures emerged from quantum storage across the galaxy, each one a note in a symphony 3 centuries in the making. The unified consciousness field is stable, Six reported, his mind voice reaching everyone simultaneously through the network. 99.8% of all sentient species are connected. The remaining 0.2% are in isolated systems, protected by human technology. Admiral Thressa's crystalline form pulsed in harmony with the network's energy. The Void Collective is attempting to breach our outer defensive line. But it's confused. Our unified consciousness is making it difficult for it to find purchase in our reality. Maya smiled, feeling the truth of humanity's plan unfold through the collected knowledge of trillions. They knew this would happen. The Void Collective feeds on the quantum spaces between conscious minds, the gaps created by division and conflict. By unifying our consciousness while maintaining our individuality, we've made our galaxy fundamentally incompatible with its existence. Through the vast windows, they watched as the Void Collective, a writhing mass of dark energy that devoured light itself, tried to penetrate the galaxy's edge. But everywhere it reached, it found no purchase, no gaps to exploit. Then, deep within the neural network, a new presence emerged. At first, it seemed like an echo, a memory shared across countless minds. But as it grew stronger, Maya realized the truth. "They're here," she whispered, tears flowing freely. They never left. Through the unified consciousness of the galaxy, humanity revealed itself. They had never disappeared, never abandoned the galaxy. Instead, they had transformed themselves into living quantum data, embedding their consciousness into the very network they had spent centuries preparing. Their voices spoke through the network, not as conquerors or saviors, but as guides who had waited patiently for this moment. We couldn't fight the Void Collective directly, no single species could. But we could prepare the galaxy, guide it toward unity while protecting its diversity. We became the foundation upon which you could build something greater than we ever were alone. The Void Collective recoiled from the galaxy's edge, encountering something it had never faced in eons of consumption, a unified field of consciousness that celebrated differences instead of exploiting them. The very thing that made it powerful, its ability to feed on division, became its weakness. Through the network, every being in the galaxy understood at last. Humanity hadn't just created defenses or weapons. They had engineered an evolutionary leap for all sentient life, guiding the galaxy's species toward a state of existence that transcended their physical limitations while preserving their unique identities. Maya touched her pendant one last time, and it dissolved into streams of quantum data, revealing its true nature. It had never been just a human artifact, it was a seed, a fragment of humanity's transformed consciousness that had guided her toward this moment. We chose to be remembered as primitives, the human consciousness shared through the network, because it was the only way to ensure our plan would work. If we had revealed our true nature, fear and ambition would have torn the galaxy apart. Instead, we became a cautionary tale, allowing you to develop naturally until you were ready for this moment. The Void Collective launched a final, desperate assault on the galaxy's unified consciousness. But where it had once found fear and division to feed upon, it now encountered only strength through diversity, unity through understanding. The entity that had consumed countless civilizations found itself unable to comprehend, much less defeat, what the galaxy had become. Through their shared consciousness, every being witnessed the Void Collective's retreat. It withdrew from the galaxy's edge, its fundamental nature incompatible with the new form of existence humanity had helped create. The threat that had prompted humanity's greatest sacrifice had been overcome not through violence, but through transformation. In the Unity Chamber, Maya felt humanity's consciousness merge more fully with the network they had created, their knowledge and experience becoming freely available to all. They had never sought to rule or dominate, only to guide the galaxy toward its greatest potential. The universe mocked us, the human consciousness shared, but we never lost faith in what all sentient life could become. Our sacrifice wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. Now the true journey starts. As the galaxy celebrated its salvation, Maya understood the full scope of humanity's legacy. They had transformed themselves into living information, sacrificed their physical form and reputation, all to give the galaxy species a chance to evolve into something greater than any one civilization could become alone. The species that had been dismissed as violent primitives had engineered the greatest leap forward in the history of consciousness itself. And now, through the network they had spent centuries preparing, they would continue to guide and grow alongside all other sentient life, their consciousness eternally woven into the fabric of a unified galaxy that celebrated diversity while transcending division. The universe had mocked humanists until their sacrifice changed everything. But in the end, that mockery had been part of the plan, a small price to pay for the salvation and transformation of all sentient life.